Get ready, Heartland fans. Welcome back to my channel. The end of an era is here. What would happen if the love you thought was gone forever returned suddenly, without warning or explanation? In the quiet rhythm of Heartland, a storm is about to hit, not one of wind or rain, but of memories, choices, and the raw truth of the heart. Season 19 begins not with calm, but with the impossible. Ty Borden is back. Life at Heartland has started to find a quiet pace again. Despite still being burdened by Ty's memory, Amy Fleming has established a peaceful routine. Like her father's once did, Lindy's laugh reverberates throughout the barn and fields as she grows quickly. The family is closer than ever, and the ranch is stable. As for Amy, she's functioning, maybe not healing fully, but moving. That's something, at least. Nathan is gone now, kindly, respectfully, but gone. Their relationship ended not with bitterness, but with the heavy silence of truth. Amy was not prepared. There was no room in her heart for anyone else. She had tried for Lindy, for herself, for the illusion that time could fix what loss had broken. However, the truth had always been literally around her neck. Ty's engagement ring still close to her heart. So when the knock came at the ranch house door that early spring morning, Amy wasn't expecting her world to tilt off its axis. Jack had already gone to town. Inside, Lou was on the phone. The wind, the birds, or the day's rhythm went unnoticed when Amy opened it. Just a knock. Just a door. Then there's Ty. He stood there, worn and older, but unmistakably him. The same eyes that saw her for who she really was. Identical posture. The same silence. He didn't speak right away. She also did not. Ty wasn't supposed to be alive, so the ring around her neck seemed to weigh more suddenly. He was lost to the world. His family was devastated. They'd claimed it was a tragic accident. Complications. There had been a funeral. A service. The long ache of acceptance. Yet there he was, breathing, alive. Moreover, despite the fact that years had passed between them, he looked at her as if nothing had happened. Amy's mind raced. Was this real? Was she hallucinating? Had grief finally fractured her reality? But Lindy ran to the door before Amy could speak. She saw him and froze too. Then Ty knelt, tears forming as he whispered her name. Lindy. It wasn't a dream. That first reunion was filled with silence and stares more than words. Ty explained only what he could. He had been gone not by choice. He couldn't say some things because they were too risky or intertwined with his disappearance. The truth was more complicated than anyone could have imagined. Threats had been made. A need to protect his family. A last-minute decision that resulted in years of absence. Amy listened with her whole being, her heart, skin, and soul in addition to her ears. Ty had survived. Even so, his return did not alleviate the pain. It shifted. It deepened. It got louder. Where had he been during the birthdays, the tears, the milestones? Why hadn't he found a way back sooner? Why now? And more frightening than any of that, was she ready to let him back in? As news of Ty's return spread across the family, reactions varied. Jack, ever the protector, demanded answers. Lou cried. Tim was furious. Georgie, visiting from college, couldn't hide her shock. Everyone felt the earthquake, but no one felt it more than Amy. Because this wasn't just about Ty coming back. This was about everything his return brought with it: hope, confusion, heartbreak, and the terrifying possibility of love again. Ty is watching from the doorway as the episode comes to a close, with Amy alone in the barn, with the ring still around her neck. Nothing is resolved. Nothing is clear. However, one truth hangs in the balance. Love never truly dies. It lays low. Ty's return is more than just a shock. It's a tremor that stirs every buried emotion Amy thought she'd locked away. She struggles for days to comprehend the significance of his presence and, more importantly, its absence. He is indeed alive. But is he still hers? Is she still his? Time doesn't pause, even for miracles. At first, their conversations are hesitant, filled with gaps, unfinished sentences, and long silences that speak louder than words. Tai tells her only fragments of where he's been citing danger, necessity, and a vow to protect. He hints at people who wanted him gone, at threats that made staying impossible. However, the narrative feels incomplete. Amy senses there's something he's still not saying. She also feels a lot of that unknown. She finds herself constantly watching him, trying to reconnect the man before her with the one she lost. He's changed. Quieter, more cautious, always looking over his shoulder. There's a tension in him, a distance that wasn't there before. He touches Lindy's toys gently, like he's afraid to break them. He stands by the paddocks and watches the horses, but doesn't step into the barns right away. It's as if he's relearning everything Heartland, the family, Amy, even himself. Amy tries to act normal for Lindy's sake, for the family's sake. But inside, she's anything but. She thought she wanted this. Tai used to appear in her dreams. But now that he has, she's overwhelmed by everything she never got to say, and all the things she doesn't know how to ask. Amy walks into the barn late one night, unable to sleep, and finds Tai brushing Spartan there. The way his hand moves through the horse's mane, it's muscle memory, familiar. She watches him for a long moment before finally speaking. "Why didn't you try to send a letter? A signal? Anything?" Tai pauses, shoulders tense. "Because if I had, they would have found you too." It's the first real piece of clarity she's been given, but it only raises more questions. Who are they? Why not now? What shifted? Tai doesn't explain further. He simply says, it wasn't safe before. It is now. But the fear in his eyes tells Amy that whatever he's been through, it's far from over. As the days pass, Amy begins to feel caught between the past and the present. Her life has moved on without Tai in it. She's raised a daughter, buried grief, built new walls to protect herself. But now with Tai back, those walls begin to crack. Additionally, her life begins to feel foreign. She questions everything. Even Lindy, as young as she is, senses the emotional pull between her parents. She's excited. Hopeful but confused, one night, she asks Amy, "Is Daddy staying forever this time?" Caught off guard, Amy doesn't have the heart to lie. She hugs her daughter close and whispers, "I hope so." But hope doesn't feel like enough anymore. Meanwhile, tension builds quietly within the family. Jack struggles with trust. His instinct is to protect Amy and Lindy. He wants to believe in Tai again, but trust, once broken, is hard to glue back together. Lou wants answers. She digs quietly, asking questions, trying to piece together what happened. She even reaches out to old contacts, trying to uncover the truth behind Tai's disappearance. Georgie, more emotionally distant than the others, watches with skepticism. She loves Tai like a brother, but she remembers how broken Amy was when he died. She doesn't want to see her aunt fall apart all over again if Tai's presence only brings more uncertainty. In the midst of all this, Amy keeps wearing the ring. Some part of her still believes in the love they shared. But she also knows love isn't always enough, not when it's been wrapped in silence and shadow for this long. One afternoon, Amy takes a trail ride alone, the wind in her hair, and the silence of the land her only company. She ends up at the lake where she and Tai once spent long summer days together. She gets off the horse, sits at the edge of the water, and lets the tears fall. She's not crying because he's back. She's crying because she doesn't know what to do now that he is. The episode closes with a quiet moment between them. Tai approaches her at the lake, sits beside her without speaking. For a while, they just listen to the water. Then he says softly, "I never stopped loving you." Amy turns her head toward him, her voice trembling. Then why does this hurt so much? The question lingers in the air, unanswered because love, real love, doesn't erase the pain. It holds it right alongside the hope. Days pass, but the emotional storm doesn't. Tai is back, physically present, but emotionally, he's still distant. Amy senses it every time their eyes meet, and he quickly looks away. There's love in his voice, yes, but also something else. Fear, regret. maybe even shame. It's like he's carrying something heavy and dangerous, something he refuses to lay down. The rest of the family tiptoes around it, afraid to push too hard. Jack, though quiet, has that look in his eyes, the one he gets when his gut tells him something's off. Lou's tension is more visible. She's constantly watching, always asking questions under the surface of her casual conversations. Even Katie picks up on the unease, sensing that this man who once felt like a part of their story now feels like a stranger with a secret. And Amy, she's caught in the middle. Caught between a love that defined her and a silence that's threatening to destroy everything they once had. She wants to believe him. She does believe him. But there's a voice inside her, quiet but persistent, whispering, "What are you telling me, Ty?" That question becomes impossible to ignore when a black SUV pulls up outside the ranch late one evening. A man steps out, middle-aged, well-dressed, calm but watchful. He asks for Ty by name. Jack answers the door, his hands still dirty from fence work, and doesn't hide his suspicion. Who's asking? The man identifies himself as Agent Clay from a government agency. Undisclosed, not RCMP, not local. Something deeper. He says he needs to speak to Ty urgently and alone. Ty steps out without hesitation. He doesn't argue, doesn't explain, just walks toward the man and gets into the SUV. Amy watches from the window, her heart pounding. The vehicle disappears down the road, leaving only dust behind. Ty is gone for hours. When he returns, he says nothing. No one asks. But Amy doesn't sleep that night. In the morning, she confronts him in the barn, where she finds him saddling a horse like nothing happened. "What was that about?" she asks. Ty pauses but doesn't meet her eyes. "Just something I had to deal with." "That's not an answer," she snaps, the calm mask cracking. "If you're back in our lives, you have to let us in, Ty. You can't disappear again, not emotionally, not physically. Not now. Now." Ty finally looks at her. His eyes are tired, older. But there's something else there too. Guilt. "I made choices, Amy. Bad ones. To protect you. To protect Lindy. I thought disappearing was the only way to keep you safe. I can't undo that. I wish I could. But there are things I did while I was gone. Things I saw. I don't know if you'll ever look at me the same way again." Amy's voice shakes. "Try me." He opens his mouth, closes it, and walks away. The space between them grows again. Meanwhile, rumors start to ripple through Hudson. People have seen Ty. Some believe it's a ghost. Others are convinced he faked his death for selfish reasons. The town buzzes with theories, half-truths, and cruel gossip. Amy can't step into Maggie's diner without hearing whispers. Lou does damage control, but it's like trying to stop a flood with a paper towel. The media catches wind. A small blog publishes an article, "Ty Borden Alive?" Heartland Ranch holds its breath. Amy slams the laptop shut when she sees it. It's only a matter of time before someone starts digging deeper. Before the truth, whatever it is, gets dragged into the open. And then it happens. Amy receives an envelope in the mailbox. No return address. Inside, photos. Grainy, secretive. Ty in a different city. With people she doesn't recognize. One photo shows him in what looks like a hospital. Another stepping out of a building marked with symbols she doesn't understand. On the back of one photo, a single sentence, "Do you really know where he's been?" Amy stares at it, her hands trembling. Trust, once broken, is hard to rebuild. And now her mind is racing with possibilities. Who sent these? Why? And what is Ty hiding that someone else is desperate for her to find out? She doesn't show Ty the photos. Not yet. Instead, she tucks them away, her heart heavy with doubt. But from that moment on, the quiet between them isn't just painful. It's dangerous. Amy starts doing her own digging. She searches for the building in the photo. Traces symbols. Contacts people discreetly. Her instincts sharpened from years of running. Heartland and taking care of a daughter by oneself, they are now on high alert because if someone is trying to scare her, it's working. A chilling scene marks the episode's conclusion. Ty is outside fixing a broken fence late at night. Amy watches him from the porch, holding the photos in her hand. The quiet is broken by Lindy's gentle breathing behind her. Inside the barn, a shadow moves quickly, unnoticed, watching. Additionally, the message is clear. Ty's return was never solely motivated by love. It was about staying alive. The air at Heartland has shifted. What was once hope is now tension, wrapped in silence and suspicion. Amy moves through her days with a weight in her chest, a quiet storm of doubt and love battling inside her. Ty is trying. He spends more time with Lindy, more time fixing things around the ranch, more time trying to reclaim a life that has moved on without him. However, Amy is unable to shake the impression that the man who returned is not the same person who left. Because, in all honesty, he is not. Amy finally opens up to Lou. She demonstrates the message, photos, and envelope to her. Lou goes pale, her instincts kicking in fast. "You need to tell him," she says. But Amy shakes her head. "No, not yet. Not until I know what I'm looking at." Together, they quietly look into the matter, gathering evidence. One photo shows Ty stepping out of a nondescript building with tinted windows. After some digging, Lou discovers a match. It's a facility connected to a private medical research company, one that's worked with government agencies in the past. Where is the building located? Vancouver, 2 years ago. Amy feels like the floor beneath her is tilting. If Ty was in Vancouver 2 years ago, why didn't he come back then? Why now? The individual who issued the initial warning is still not finished. Another envelope appears. No pictures this time. Just a brief note. You believe he left to safeguard you. Ask him who he really protected. The words hit Amy like a punch. She reads it over and over again, causing her stomach to twitch. There's someone else in this story. A person involved in Ty's disappearance. Amy also suddenly realizes that she hasn't asked who because she has been so preoccupied with the how and where. Later that night, she finds Ty in the barn again, fixing a broken stall door. The horses are restless, sensing the unease in the air. Amy walks in, the note clutched in her hand. She just can't bring herself to show it again. Instead, she asks quietly, "Does anyone else require my attention? Anyone who is part of whatever you went through?" Ty is frozen. He can no longer move the wrench in his hand. For a moment, the only sound is the wind through the beams. He says slowly, "There were people. But right now, none of them matter." Amy moves in closer. "That's not a response, Ty." He finally turns to face her, and for the first time, she sees something crack behind his eyes. He says quietly, "There was a girl. She was only a child. Something happened to her family that they didn't ask for. I assisted them. I stayed to make sure they were safe." Amy's heart drops. "You stayed for them while I was here, raising our daughter, bearing your memory. You were protecting someone else's family?" "It's not what you think," Ty says, his voice rising, desperate. "It was complicated. I thought I'd be gone for months, maybe a year. But the deeper I got in, the more dangerous it became. Coming back would have put all of you at risk. I didn't have a choice." "But you did, Ty," Amy snaps. "You were always given a choice. And you chose to stay away." Now the barn feels colder. Even the horses fall silent. Amy's voice breaks as she continues, "Do you know what it was like to explain to Lindy that her father was never coming home? Do you know how long it took before she stopped asking about you every night?" Ty steps forward, his voice barely a whisper. "I missed everything. I know. I hate myself for it every single day." Amy's eyes well up with tears, but do not fall out. She's done crying. For now. Instead, she turns and walks out, leaving Ty standing alone in the half-light of the barn. Outside, Jack waits on the porch, watching it all unfold. He doesn't say anything as Amy walks by him, but his eyes are filled with understanding. He knows the pain of betrayal. He knows what it's like to love someone who makes the wrong choices. The next morning, a new threat arrives. The family wakes to find the barn doors open. Horses spooked. One of them injured. A clear message, not from an animal, but rather from someone attempting to evoke fear. Lou calls the police, but Amy already knows what this is. Someone is watching them. Someone doesn't want Ty here. Someone thinks scaring the family will force him to leave. And possibly, it is working. Ty begins to talk about leaving. He states, not forever. Just until things calm down. Just until I figure out what's going on. Amy, however, cuts him off. You don't get to run again. He looks stunned. You don't get to decide when you show up and when you disappear. Ty, you are either a member of this family or you are not. Because Lindy's heart doesn't have a reset button. Ty doesn't argue for the first time. He just nods quietly, slowly. He is crushed by his guilt. And Amy sees it. But she also sees something else, fear. Not of her. Not of facing the past. But of what's to come. Because whatever Ty was involved in, it's not over. And Heartland may not be safe much longer. The rhythm of life at Heartland feels unfamiliar now. Offbeat. Like the land itself is aware of a problem. The horses are anxious. The family walks on eggshells. And Amy? Amy has stopped pretending. She's no longer caught between denial and hope. She's standing in the eye of the storm, now facing it head-on. Ty remains at the ranch despite the danger, despite the fear. He sleeps on edge, keeps a watchful eye on the road, and speaks only when necessary. The once warm, carefree man Amy fell in love with now wakes in the middle of the night to check locks and scan shadows. He's not afraid for himself. He worries about them. Amy, on the other hand, holds the second note like a lit match, asking who Ty was really protecting. She hasn't told him about it. Not yet, Det. She's waiting, watching. And more than anything, she wants the truth from him, not from a stranger hiding in the dark. But that truth is coming, whether they're ready for it or not. Amy discovers something in Lindy's backpack one morning, as she assists her with getting ready for school. A small piece of paper folded in half. She initially interprets it as a drawing. But it's a note. A warning. You're being watched. He persists in lying. Amy's hands shake. This is not accidental. Someone got close enough to leave a message for her child. This is no longer just about Ty. This is about family, safety, survival. She calls Lo immediately. And within hours, the entire family gathers at the house. Jack, Lo, Tim, even Peter. They sit around the kitchen table, faces tight with fear and anger. No more playing pretend. No more avoiding. It is time for responses. Amy pulls out the notes. The photos. Lays them all on the table in front of Ty. I need to know everything, she says, voice firm. No more protecting us with lies. That ends today.